Hi, welcome to lesson 52 of the B2 course. This is a vocabulary lesson and our topic today is collocations 1. Don't worry if you don't know what this means, we're going to find out. But you'll notice by the fact that I've called it collocations 1 that there will be another lesson on this topic. And you'd be right, that will be lesson 54. But today, this is lesson 52. My name's Stephanie, and this is level B2 or upper intermediate. So let's have a look at what we're going to cover in today's session. Okay, in lesson 52, you will focus on fixed expressions to increase fluency. Fixed expressions, by this I mean words that usually go together, that are usually collocated, they're connected. And we're going to be looking at 10 expressions today that are very easy, very useful for you to use in English. What I suggest you do as always, when you meet a lot of vocabulary, it's impossible to remember everything. And if you try, the result often is that you remember nothing. So what I suggest, my recommendation is to watch the lesson and then from the list of 10 fixed expressions, choose maybe 3 or 4 that you think would be useful, would be relevant for you and your life, and then try to use these. So you could make some practice sentences relevant to your life, and then the next opportunity you have to speak English, try to use one of these, because by speaking the new vocabulary, you will retain it. It will become part of your language. But for now, we're going to have a look at 10 binomial expressions together. Don't worry, again, if you don't know what a binomial expression is, we're going to find out very shortly. Okay, let's start. So, binomials. These are fixed expressions where 2 words are connected by a conjunction. Can you think of any examples? As always, there's a clue in the picture. So just have a think. Can you think of any expressions where we have 2 words connected by a conjunction? Okay, here are some of my examples connected with the conjunction and. Black and white, hot and cold, ups and downs. But we don't always need to use the conjunction and, it's just a very common one. Some are connected by conjunctions such as or by. Can you think of any examples? Again, there's a big clue in the image. Step by step, sooner or later, more or less. So these sort of expressions, these are technically what are called binomials. They're 2 words connected with a conjunction in the middle. The conjunction could be and, or, by. We're going to have a look. We're going to focus today on and, so you don't need to think about the conjunction. It's always going to be and. So that's a big help for you. Okay, so let's have a look at some examples. Let's have a look at the 10 expressions we're going to focus on today. And to begin with, I'd like to see what you know. So I've got 2 columns and I want you to connect the words with and. So choose a word from the left column, connect it with a word from the right column. So let's have a look at one together so you can see what I mean. Black and white. That was the example from the previous slide. Black and white. So go down the list. Some words you might be able to guess are connected, and by process of elimination, hopefully you will be able to correctly match all 10. Pause the slide and have a go. Okay, have you got 10 fixed expressions there? Well, let's have a look at the answers together, and so you can compare. This is what you should have. Give and take, black and white, hot and cold, safe and sound, odds and ends, by and large, pros and cons, sick and tired, back and forth, ups and downs. So hopefully what you'll notice from this list is that the words either are the complete opposite, such as hot and cold, ups and downs, or they mean very similar things, such as safe and sound. Okay, so we're going to do lots of practice using these expressions, and let's start with 5 to begin with. Okay, so what I want you to do is to see if you can remember, or maybe you know already, the missing word. So after searching all night, they found the cat and sound. If you're not sure, go back to the previous slide where you'll be able to see safe and sound. So the answer to the first one will be safe. So all I'm asking you to do is to try and remember the missing word for each of the fixed expressions. Number 2, the rules are black and there's no uncertainty. Number 3, the boss has been blowing hot and I wish he'd make a decision. Number 4, in every relationship there has to be an element of and take. Number 5, I've unpacked most of my belongings except for a few odds and... So pause the slide and see if you can write in the 5 missing words. Okay, how did you do? Well, let's check our answers together. So as we said, number 1, after searching all night, they found the cat safe and sound. Number 2, the rules are black and white. There's no uncertainty. Number 3, the boss has been blowing hot and cold. I wish he'd make a decision. Number 4, in every relationship there has to be an element of give and take. And number 5, I've unpacked most of my belongings except for a few odds and ends. So as you can see now, we are putting the expressions into sentences so that you can see them in context. And again, this is so important when you're learning new vocabulary. If you learn it in isolation, if you just learn lists, you're not learning, you're not understanding how the word is used. So very, very important to learn new expressions, new vocabulary in a context, in a sentence. We'll come back to that a bit later. Okay, how did you do? Did you get all 5 there? Well done if you did. Let's move on to the next 5. Okay, so same idea. 5 sentences, 5 missing words. Number 1, I've weighed up the pros and made a decision. Number 2, and large, it's a safe area, but you should still be careful. Number 3, I'm tired of my colleague arriving late every morning. Number 4, their marriage has been going through some ups and number 5, the negotiations are still going and forth. So again, pause the slide, see if you can write in the 5 missing words. Okay, how was that? Well, let's check together. So these are the answers you should have. I've weighed up the pros and cons and made a decision. Number 2, by and large, it's a safe area, but you should still be careful. Number 3, I'm sick and tired of my colleagues arriving late every morning. Number 4, their marriage has been going through some ups and downs. And number 5, the negotiations are still going back and forth. So firstly, really well done if you got the 5 words correct there. Now, looking at them in context, do you have any idea? Do you have a clue as to what these expressions might mean? So number 1, I've weighed up the pros and cons and made a decision. What do you think pros and cons means? So have a look at the answers here. What do you think? Can you understand what these 5 fixed expressions might mean? So pause the slide and look at them in context. Can you understand what they might mean? Okay, and let's look at the previous 5 answers. Again, we've got them in context now. What do you think the fixed expressions might mean? The rules are black and white. There's no uncertainty. How do you understand this expression, black and white? Okay, so hopefully looking at the expressions in context has given you some idea what you think they might mean. Well, let's check this. So let's have a look at the meanings. So I've got the first 5 fixed expressions: give and take, black and white, hot and cold, safe and sound, odds and ends. On the right, I've got 5 different meanings: various things, clearly defined, compromise, frequently change your mind, and without harm. So pause the slide and see if you can match the fixed expression with the correct meaning. Okay, if you're not sure, if you haven't managed to do that, go back, have a look at the expression in context, and that should give you a clue. But let's check our answers together. So give and take means compromise. Give something, take it. It's that idea of compromise. Black and white means clearly defined, no grey area. If things are either black or white, they're very clearly defined, such as the law, for example, can be black and white. Some people argue there are grey areas of the law as well. Hot and cold means frequently change your mind. So the example of the boss blowing hot and cold means he's changing his mind all the time. Safe and sound means without harm. And odds and ends means various things. I've unpacked all of my belongings except for a few odds and ends. Typically it would be small, unimportant things. Well done if you got those 5 correct. Shall we try the next 5? Same idea. The expression on the left, the meaning on the right. By and large, pros and cons, sick and tired, back and forth, ups and downs. And the meaning, feeling very annoyed, moving in one direction then the other, advantages and disadvantages, generally, a mix of good things and bad things. Pause the slide and see again if you can match the fixed expression with the meaning. Okay, well, let's have a look at that together. So this is what you should have. By and large means generally. Pros and cons, the advantages, the disadvantages. Sick and tired means feeling very annoyed. And we had an example of, I'm sick and tired of my colleague arriving late every morning. So again, it's an expression when something really irritates you. You're fed up with it. You're sick and tired. Back and forth means moving in one direction and then the other. And ups and downs, a mix of good things and bad things. Very well done if you got all of those correct. Okay, we have one more practice slide because, as you know, the more you practice, the more likely you are to remember these. So let's try the final practice slide together. I'm asking you to choose the correct ending. Give and take or give and forth. We're going to do this together, so all I need you to do is to call out your answer. Give and take or give and forth? Give and take. Number 2, black and white or black and large? What do you think? Call out your answer. Black and white. Hot and cons or hot and cold? Hot and cold. Safe and tired or safe and sound? Safe and sound. Odds and ends, odds and white? Odds and ends. By and large or by and forth? By and large. Pros and take or pros and cons? Pros and cons. Sick and tired or sick and sound? Sick and tired. Back and forth or back and downs? Back and forth. Ups and ends or ups and downs? Ups and downs. Hopefully you got all 10 right answers there. You're calling out the answers and hopefully they were the right ones. So again, we need to do lots of practice in order to try to retain new vocabulary. But as I said at the beginning, the most important thing is for you to choose some expressions from the list that you think would be useful, would be relevant to you, and that you can actually realistically use. Now, to help you do this, I'm going to show you some examples in a discussion. So let's have a look at the next slide. Do you agree that for relationships to be successful, there needs to be give and take? What do you think? How would you answer this question? And when you answer it, try to use the expression give and take. When was the last time you had to weigh up the pros and cons of something? So when was the last time you had to consider the advantages and disadvantages? This is a really nice and easy fixed expression to use, the pros and cons. By and large, generally, do you think it's harder to learn a language when you are older? What do you think? Get in your answer. Try to use the expression by and large, meaning generally. And do you agree that the law isn't always black and white? So we used this in an example previously, and I said some people think the law is black and white, but some people argue that there are grey areas, areas which aren't so clearly defined. What do you think? In your opinion, is the law always black and white? It's right or wrong? Or are there ambiguous areas in between? And the last one. Would you say that you have experienced ups and downs in your life? I think probably most of us have, if we're honest. There have been very good periods, but there have also probably been challenging and difficult periods as well. So again, in your answer, try to use the expression ups and downs. So they're just 5 ways with 5 of the expressions that you can incorporate those into your English. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the session. I hope you found it useful. Next time, lesson 53, we are returning to our topic of wish. So it will be a grammar lesson, lesson 53. I hope to see you then. Thank you.